look at what happened to, say, Ron Paul, right? Look what happened to Bernie Sanders. Look what happened to Tulsi Gabbard. I believe Tulsi Gabbard got boxed out as well. Like
Yes.
competition frog was strong with that one. Like I'm with you of like there is this good old boys gamemanship establishment game
And
going
dude, you know
on.
what's crazy is like how fast they'll pounce on a Tulsi Russian operative. Like they'll
Oh
just
yeah.
quick. It's like that machine is ready, dude, to like
And they have the full
destroy you.
force of the machine
Yeah,
behind them to
Yes.
where
the
they'll
money, the
organize
force.
and they'll move against you.
Yeah. So, okay. So that's one piece. I'm giving you three pieces here.
No, I
First
love it.
piece was just my own experience of going like something's not right in the veracity in which they're going after my very, if it's true that we're just so benign, like what is up with just the onslaught of censorship, and also not just there. I mean, even running ads, things like this. I mean, just unbelievable. For me, it was personally very eye opening. And then secondarily, there was a lot of misconduct on behalf of our supervisor of elections offices, specifically Palm Beach. I think was the most egregious of evidence that I could point to. Where again, I was just like, oh my gosh, I don't trust these people that are they are our vote counters. Okay, so the canvassing boards, they count our votes, they certify our elections, and they are completely like not transparent, and they're doing some things that are very concerning. So I'm just going to highlight just a few. And again, if people want to read my complaint, there's more in there, but I'm just going to highlight the few that really helped to add to why I felt I needed to sue and why I needed to bring attention to it. Like I had a responsibility to bring attention to it. The first was on election night at my watch party. One of the people at my watch party got a phone call from a friend who works at the supervisor of elections office in some type of IT capacity. And this person, I have the recorded call. Anyone can listen to it. The web address, the YouTube address for the video is in my complaint. And on the recorded call, this employee says, I am responsible for a USB at the supervisor of elections office on voting night, on election night. I have a USB that has votes on it, and these votes aren't reading. And there's several USBs like this, but this one in particular, I'm being told to get alone in the car and drive to another location owned by the supervisor of elections office so that they can try to read it over there. Well, that was concerning to me because first of all, why are there several USBs that they're having trouble reading votes? And then what, like chain of custody issue, big time. People are driving alone with our votes in cars with a USB. Like that is just absurd. Like as an attorney, as a thinking person, I mean, I was just horrified to think like, I mean, she sounded trustworthy. I'm sure I felt like she wasn't doing anything with her votes, but I don't know every person that's alone in the car with the USB.
So
Why
true.
wasn't there some type of chain of custody? Why wasn't she accompanied by a sheriff? So I called the sheriff's department and got them on the phone, and that's recorded on the call. So you'll see on the call, there's this lady, this employee, and the sheriff confirms that this does happen. When I asked him about the chain of custody issue, he goes, oh yeah, it happens, but it's rare. So this had happened before and wasn't rectified. So we've got, that USB, I was told later, and again, you'd have to ask the canvassing board to substantiate, but I was told, I think it had like over 100 votes on it. So how, just to give an idea. So that was very concerning to me. There was no answer for that. The canvassing board gave no answer for that. There's a new law. The second piece that was concerning is that there's a new law that allowed candidates to designate volunteers to review mail-in ballot signatures. I was one of just a few candidates that took advantage of this. Every candidate should have and should moving forward. But you could send designees in and they would look at, and I did this myself. I volunteered and I looked at the signatures to see if they matched. And if you saw they didn't match or there was an issue, you could object to it. These objections that were made by the public, I was being sent emails from designees that were saying the canvassing board is refusing to record our objections. Well, no, why would they do that? That's very concerning. Where's the transparency with that? Another designee was keeping track of the raw counts of votes that were coming in from the Palm Beach County precincts. So that means a couple of days out, when they're taking in these mail-in ballots, each precinct is sending in their votes to the main SOE, the main supervisor of elections office. So this one designee was reading the tallies and she was writing down the tallies to keep her own track of the amount of votes that were coming in. Well, what she found was when she took her raw count and matched it with what was being reported on the website, there was a difference of about 17,000 votes. So there were 17,000 more votes being reported on the website than what this designee was writing down every day. And when she addressed it, go ahead.
I was just going to say, you just said more votes, because immediately what my thought was, okay, maybe there's a lag or a delay between the website and the raw numbers that she was getting. But you're saying the website was reporting 17,000 more. Now, could that have come from a different source that would have plugged into that website?
So that's a great question. And the person to answer that question would be Wendy Link, who's the head of the supervisor of elections office. And when this person, and these emails that this person wrote me, they're all in my complaint. And so when she addressed it with Wendy Link, she did not get an answer, an explanation. And instead what happened was they took away the designee's ability to keep track of those raw counts. So they started hiding the numbers so that now they couldn't keep track of them. So all of this, and there's more, like there's just more. I called, when I did sue them, I called to get the name and address of the attorney that represents the canvassing board. I have a recorded call also people can watch where they told me I had to pay money to get the name and address of the attorney that represents the canvassing board. I mean, it's just such a mess. So yeah, and that's a funny one, actually. You should watch, it's got a good ending. But so my point is I had these personal experiences where I was like, wow, something's off about how censored I'm being as a candidate. Our supervisor of elections offices are not transparent. I have a whole host of questions. My husband volunteered also for the signature matching. He said that one of the signatures he saw wasn't even the same name. And those objections were not allowed to be recorded. I mean, there was so much distrust. But what ultimately led me to sue to set aside the election results was when somebody sent me a chart from a website called ordros.com, ORDOS.com. That's also in my complaint. And what it was it wasn't a CVR report, which I will go into for those that don't know. It was not a CVR report, but it was as the votes were coming in live time being reported to the news, they created a chart. And the chart shows an unnatural spike at the very beginning for the incumbent. It's like statistically improbable. It's what they call front loading or dumping, where like if you're going to cheat, you'll dump a bunch of votes in electronically to make sure you've got that buffer at the beginning. So you're padding, you're making sure you're really gonna win this one. Go ahead.
Has that action been proven before, that that's a method to do it?
Okay, so this is not my expertise. To my knowledge, yes. From what I've been told by people that analyze these reports, that's what this looks like. Those are things that happen. There's other ways that the machine fraud can happen. I'm sorry, machine fraud can happen. It can
That's
be.
Okay. I know I'm already going to have to fight YouTube on this one way or another, so you're fine.
So
competition fraud.
Again, I'm not speaking from my own area of expertise. This is what has been communicated to me. So yes, you can do the front loading, or sometimes they'll put like an algorithm in there. So like you'll see that everybody kind of tracks each other at the same percentage at every point in time. Those are supposed to be indicators of machine fraud. So when I saw that chart, and as somebody who I don't have an expertise in this. I'm not an IT person. I wouldn't know how to analyze the chart or the CVR reports. But when that was sent to me, it made me go, okay, this at least needs to be looked into. I've never said there was definitively, I know for a fact that there was competition fraud here. I just had there were too many things showing up that I thought this needs to be investigated, and I owed it to the people to at least try to have it investigated. I don't think that's too much to ask, just to have it looked into. And then we could all like be happy, look at it and go, okay, there was no competition fraud. Like, let's analyze the CVR reports. And if it shows up everything's fine, then great. Then we can all feel really, really good about who we elected in. And I felt a responsibility because I didn't run for my health. I certainly didn't run for money. I'm really looking forward to going back to getting a paycheck and having my life back in a lot of respects. So, even to move forward with a lawsuit, it was like a thorn in my side, but I've always been motivated by what is right, or what I feel is right, my own moral compass. So when I saw that chart, I inquired, like, what am I supposed to do with this? And what I was told, again, by people that know more than me, it's the CVR report that you want to look at, and the CVR report allegedly will give an indicator as to whether or not there was machine frog, and if there was, then you would take those data points and you would put them up against a hand count, and that's how you would know. But the first step would be to have an expert analyze what is called a CVR report. The statute that I had to sue under, it's Florida statute 102.168. It had a timeline. So I wasn't able to get the CVR reports and have them analyzed before I could sue. I had 10 days from the date that the election was certified. If I was going to sue to set aside election results, I had to do it in that 10 days without having the full picture. All I had was this like evidence of misconduct, which is what the statute says. If you have evidence of misconduct from the canvassing board, enough to place doubt, not even enough to win, okay, but just enough to place doubt in the election, then you bring a lawsuit to set aside the election results. Right. So that's what I did. And I also asked the court to please allow these CVR reports to be analyzed. I requested the CVR reports from all 3 counties. St. Lucie refused to give me the report. They said they couldn't pull it, which is not true. I got the report from Martin County, no problem. Palm Beach County, they did not give me the report. I got it from somebody else that was able to get it. They gave me such a hard time to get the report that I ended up getting it from somebody else that had a much easier time for whatever reason.
Well, we can't get. Oh, there it goes. Man,
did we lose her?
You still there? Okay.
Yes,
okay. No,
So, Melissa, there's going to be people that object or going to say, "Okay, you're crazy, Melissa. Haven't we proven enough that the media says there is no such thing as election fraud?" Because they're out there, right? They're anybody with half a brain says there's frog out there, right?
Yes. Because it's not just machine. You know, everybody that watched 2000 Mules, there's all these different ways that people can infiltrate.
Right. Oh, yeah. So question. If the ballots, or I'm sorry, if you were right, and I'm being devil's advocate, an advocate against contrary to you, right?
Yes.
If you would have won and got the court case, would you even have won in the first place?
I don't know. I wouldn't know until we analyze the CVR report. So that I mean, that's the problem, right? Like people go like, oh, well, the numbers are so far apart. But if the numbers are all together wrong, we don't actually know that. And honestly, I wanted to know for the people, even if I hadn't won, let's say I came in second instead of third, let's say I got 30% of the vote instead of 8% of the vote, that really matters to the people. I can tell you that as somebody that ran for 2 years, because in this particular race, just like when we heard that person talking so fervently, there are people in this district that feel that fervently against their current congressman. They had been working to unseat him well before I came into the game. There have been multiple primaries where people have been so passionate about getting him out of there because of his disservice to the people, that it was important to them that they knew, like, if I got 30%, then they could have gone, okay, well, let's try this again. This is worth it. If I honestly got the 8%, then they need to pivot completely, because running a grassroots, honest, clean campaign is not going to cut it. Like, that information is invaluable in getting real representation into this district. So to me, it didn't matter whether or not it would have changed. If it would have changed the result at all, right? We needed to know that, but it absolutely could have changed the result to a different winner. I mean, who knows? Maybe that guy that came in 2.5 months, late in the game and had all this money and ran all those ads, maybe he really won. I don't know. The second you interject manipulation, you can't trust the numbers you're seeing in front of you. And all I was asking on behalf of the people was to have a chance to analyze and look at the data. That's it. That's all I wanted. Unfortunately, I have the full hearing for people to see on YouTube, so you can see the judge didn't look up, didn't ask one question to any party, didn't ask one question, didn't give a rationale to any of us for her decision. She just dismissed the case, wouldn't let it be heard. I kind of already knew that was going to happen because of my experience with the justice system. Like, I sued Palm Beach County against their unconstitutional mask mandate. I'd already had an experience knowing, like, we're hijacked at every level. The least that could have been done would have been to allow a trial so that we could have just looked into the information. She
Sure.
still could have ruled without setting the election results aside. She still could have done that and at least given the people the solace of knowing, like, okay, this is what we looked into it. This is what the data showed. But so I was doing that to do my due diligence on behalf of the people. I'm still going to pursue the analysis of the CVR results. So, and I want to talk about that because this has been such an education to me in like who the good guys are, who the bad guys are. We've got 3 other candidates that are suing in the same fashion that I did in the state of Florida. All of them are pro se. I was pro se, which means I represented myself. We have all of these organizations that people give money to that say that they're helping with the competition frog, and yet nobody was represented. As far as I know, nobody's received a report of analysis for their CVR results. Mike Lindell's organization was requesting these CVR results so that his organization could analyze them. I would think he would swoop in right now into Florida, particularly Palm Beach, because 3 of the 4 candidates touched Palm Beach County. Where is the help looking into the frog? Where is it? So I did my due diligence. I put the suit out there. I said, look, something doesn't seem right. Can somebody just take a second look at the numbers? Can we look at the CVR reports? I've got 2 of the 3, like I said. I've given those two reports to like 5 different people or organizations, including Mike Lindell, including Nations in Action, including the America Projects. And I've received confirmation that they received my reports. The only one that at this point has gotten back to me is the Nations in Action. They said, I haven't seen a report. If I ever get it, I will share it with everyone. Right. But they said that they analyzed the 2 reports and that it did show evidence of front loading. It showed evidence of manipulation. If anybody wants to follow up with them with that, hold them accountable, hold your SOEs accountable. I feel like I've done as a candidate and as an American, I think I've looked into this as much as I can. I'm going to keep pursuing the analysis of the results. But beyond that, I don't know what more I could do to make people feel good that your vote counts when you go to cast it.
Right. I love her response. It's like, it didn't matter if she won or lose. That's such a good perspective. It like turns your perspective to it's an analyzing tool. How do we fight next then? If we couldn't get this guy, Mass is working against himself. This guy, his decisions have destroyed his own reputation. He's not a conservative. I'm sorry. I've grilled this guy before he even ran. Promised he would run on the Constitution and has not done it.
You remember
and it's ridiculous. So he's really fighting against himself too. That's who you were running against. What now?
Do you remember we were at
a rally,
Fort Pierce, and somebody came up and was grilling him hard.
So he came up and shook my hand because he knew me, because he knows Revive, whatever, because it's the district. And he's like, "Hey, how you doing?" I'm like, "Hey, how you doing?" And dude, I'm not kidding you. How many people were there? 20, 25? Just railing him. And this was a conservative meeting.
There were,
it was
people
crazy.
Were unhappy.
So here's another question. Many people think and ask, why Self-Evidence Podcast? What's so different from you guys and everyone else? And honestly, we don't know. We don't. You could watch other podcasts, but they ain't us. You know what I mean? Not only do you get a constitutional view on things going on, you get a biblical one too. And we got Mike. He's the brains behind the whole operation. You got Easy E over here, who we never show because he ugly. I'm kidding. He's a great guy, right? But you got to subscribe not only for that, because you get the answers that you really, really need. We're not tribalists. We're not pinning you to a Republican, Democrat. We're saying, what does Jesus say? And what do we got to do in response? So that's why you got to tune into the show. So go on YouTube, all the special platforms, the Rumbles, the BitChutes, and all that junk, and hit that button. Subscribe to the button, right? And if you feel so inclined, you can be a partner. Got a torchbearer thing we got going on. You can be a monthly sponsor. So you can sign up on theselfevidenttruth.com, become a sponsor.
I like it.
Mike hasn't said a thing through this whole thing, and that was purposed.
I'm just here to say, love you guys.
I love you. That's probably going to get copyrighted. It's going to get flagged.
Of course.
Anyways, love you guys.